All right, we're back live. And thank you again, Jorge, for supporting the DEF CON Red Team Village and also for Texas Cyber Summit in this event. And thank you for supporting the community overall. And without any further ado, please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And welcome, everyone. Happy Saturday or maybe Sunday, depending on where you're watching from or what time. I know this is going to be recorded. Appreciate you taking some time with us. And thank you to the Red Team Village, to all the folks putting this together, to the sponsors. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate this. Always love giving back to the community. Today, we are going to talk about cuddling with the cozy bear or emulating APT29, but I know that doesn't sound as fun, right? I know everyone wants to give a big bear just a hug and cuddle with that bear. And of course I joke, we're talking about a Russian threat actor here, right? Where no one really wants to cuddle with them. So we're gonna talk about that. You can see there our first intro picture on the bottom right here of a nice little cozy bear. I am George Orchilles. I am on Twitter, on Discord. Talk to me. I see you. Hi, Clint. Hi, everyone else that is on there. Let me know. I have another window down here. If you have questions, put those questions as we go. It's how I like to interact with you in this fully virtual world where we can't cuddle with anybody outside our homes, right? So just real quick, who am I? This is Technique 1033, system owner, user discovery. If you follow MITRE ATT&CK, you know what I'm talking about. And we'll talk about that more here. But this is a technique where you figure out who you are when you compromise a system. Well, I am Jorge Orchilles, as I said. I'm on Twitter at Jorge Orchilles, also on LinkedIn. Connect with me. Let's continue this conversation beyond just this 1 hour. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at an awesome startup called Scythe. We're the ones with the unicorns. So we create adversary emulation software, and it's awesome stuff. I'm not going to talk about that here because I know you're not here for marketing. You're here to learn stuff. So we do really believe in giving back to the community. That's why I said thank you so much to the folks doing this. And let's continue to give back to the community. One of the ways that we did that is with the C2 matrix, the command and control matrix. It's one of the co-creators along with Bryson Bohr and Adam and everyone else. And you can contribute to. We're going to talk about that here. I spent 10 years, an entire decade at a large financial called Citigroup. And there started in a small offensive security team, just doing vulnerability assessment. And that grew. We grew into pen testing. We grew into creating a red team and the purple team function. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about, I've been able to do in the industry there. I also teach for SANS. I'm a certified SANS instructor. If you, all those with GPens out there, cheers to you. Those with GCIH, those are my 6-day classes that I teach. I'm also the author of a 2-day Red Team exercise and adversary emulation course, actually giving it for the last time for the foreseeable future on Monday and Tuesday. So you have exactly like 20 some hours to sign up if you want to do that. If not, it's available on demand. And then I'll be back teaching after a couple of months. The reason for that is because we are expecting a baby girl in early July. So I'm going to take a little break, but we'll be back in a couple of months. I also worked on something called the Common Vulnerability Scoring System. I'm sure you've used it. If you've worked in vulnerability space, you've seen vulnerabilities, you've scored them. Been part of that working group for a number of years. We released version 3 and 3.1, and I'm no longer a voting member because I left my company, but that's okay. I think we figured out that problem. Let's talk more about adversary emulation. Also love giving back to the community. Shout out to ISSA, Information System Security Association, that has honored me with the fellow designation, and the National Security Institute. I'm a technologist fellow there this year. So enough about me. Let's talk about adversary emulation. So what are we talking about? Well, I posted on Twitter, as you can see over here on the right. And again, connect with me, just interact. I'm a normal human, just like all of you. Like, let's talk, let's connect. Let's talk about fun stuff. And I literally asked, like, I need cute bear pictures for a presentation. And a lot of you replied. So I have a bunch of bear pictures. And that's because we're going to talk about Cozy Bear, which is a Russian threat actor. So first, we're going to talk about adversary emulation. Then we're going to see bear pictures. Then we're going to talk about cyber threat intelligence, which is very important when we do adversary emulation. Then we're going to see bear pictures. Then we're going to create an adversary emulation plan and really use MITRE ATT&CK for a lot of this. More bear pictures, live demos, pray to the demo bears, and then more bear pictures. And then let's talk about a little bit about defense, because it's not all just about getting in. It's not winning, right? If you're not making security better. And yeah, more bears. So if you get one common theme out of this, we're talking about bears. So we can't do a red team talk without debating what red team means, right? So I took this from the Red Team Journal. I think it's the best definition of a red team. And yes, we know it came from the military. Some will argue that red teaming actually came all the way back in Catholic Church times. Joe Vest has this in his awesome book that you definitely should buy. And this is playing devil's advocate, or the practice of looking at a problem or situation from the perspective of an adversary. And we have goals, right? Our goals are to make the blue team better. We've kind of matured and evolved from just finding vulnerabilities in technology to looking at an organization holistically and testing and measuring people, process, and technology. And we like testing assumptions, right? We hear all the time, I believe that we have antivirus and that's going to stop us, right? And I know you all laugh at that because half the time we're just getting around it very easily. But they believe, senior managers believe that they're spending a lot of money on technology and it's really protecting them. And we just want to test that. Is it really protecting you? You know, you just can't buy the blinky box, put it in your network and it works, right? So that's what we do. How do we do it? The effort's generally manual. One of the main things about red teaming is that it's people, it's very smart people. All of you that are red teamers are brilliant minds. And that is something we're not going to be able to automate. So anyone that tells you we're automating red team, they're lying. We need you there. We need you to think. So it's very manual. There's a lot of tools. I'm going to talk about the C2 matrix. And then the frequency really depends on what you're doing. But the biggest thing is our customer. Our customer is the blue team, right? Shout out to Ryan O'Hara, who said that the only way to do red team wrong is to not pay attention or not listen to your blue team. So we do have this thing, though, where we have internal red teams and we have external red teams. And they operate differently based on what the objectives are, right? An internal red team is going to do engagements and they're going to repeat those engagements and they're going to have to work with a number of people in the target organization, right? I did this for 10 years. We work with the operating system engineers. We work with the security operations center, with the incident response team to make sure that they can catch some of our stuff, right? We have insider knowledge and really we should be seen as a sparring partner. Right? You never knock out your sparring partner, right? Everyone's seen the movie Rocky. Did their sparring partner ever knock him down? No, right? They work together, they practice. One gets better, the other one gets better. And then when it's time to fight the big bad bear, then you work together and you fight them. External red teams are a little different, but they're awesome, right? I have a lot of friends in external red teams. You all are amazing. But it's a different perspective, right? You're coming in from the outside, you're learning about this target environment. Depending on the scope, you will probably spend a lot of time figuring out how to get that initial access. And then once you're in, you start going and you figure things out based on the objective, but you'll look at the entire organization, right? Very snapshotty, right? You're in, maybe even if it's a 3-month engagement, that's awesome. But that's a snapshot in time for an organization that's been around a lot longer, right? So we've gotten to a point of adversary emulation, right? And this is where the red team, or if you don't have a red team, you got a red team tool, and you emulate how an adversary operates, which means you have to understand that. You use cyber threat intelligence, you understand an adversary, it's likely to target your organization, and then you emulate those same tactics, techniques, and procedures, right? Those TTPs, with the same objective as this adversary. And it's very important to do this because on the red team side, you kind of tend to go full cyber and you're not really bringing a lot of these together. But if you bring these attack chains together, these scenarios in adversary emulation, then you can actually defend against these, right? And we'll talk about this in a bit, but just running a particular TTP, one TTP, it's going to be very hard to catch, right? It's going to be hard to detect. Maybe you logged it somewhere, but how much value is that really bringing, right? You want to bring these together, and that's why adversary emulation is there. You want to understand how prepared the organization is. Most of the time, these are manual engagements, and your customer is the entire organization. There you can see the bears. You can see these are actually masks. Not sure how many people caught that, so shout out to Bryson that told me to use this one here. I thought it was pretty good. Were you at Citigroup during any of the big breaches? Perhaps. Towards a purple team. Yes, the unicorns and purple, right? So you ask my daughter, she's 6 years old, how do you make purple? And it's so simple, right? You just mix red and blue together. But what is purple teaming, right? What's this hotness that everyone's talking about? Well, it's not really a team. So I don't think any of you are in a purple team per se. Generally, you're in a red team or you're in a blue team, but a purple team is a virtual team, a functional team that comes together to measure and improve your defensive posture. It's a little more efficient based on your goals and objectives. I'm not saying stop doing red teaming. I'm not saying stop doing blind or zero knowledge red team engagements. I'm not saying stop your vulnerability assessments or your vulnerability scanning or your pen testing. I'm not saying that at all. This is a different scope, different objective, and it works pretty simple. You, just like in a red team engagement, you leverage cyber threat intelligence to understand an adversary that has the capability, intent, and opportunity to attack your organization, your industry, your region. Then you create an adversary emulation plan. You work together with your blue teamers. You say, hey, this little attack chain we have here, do you think that this will work or maybe not? Well, we think that maybe this email will get through because our controls aren't that good, but the execution of an EXE, that might not work. Well, good, document that. And then actually emulate it, like hands on keyboard, execute a payload on a target system, and see what happens. Have the blue team go after and see if they find these behaviors. And then work together and create a remediation plan. So again, testing and repeating these exercises between people, process, and technology. So yes, purple is the new hotness. You can see there on our memes and lots of memes. I did a whole talk on this, on how to go from zero knowledge red teaming to a purple team, especially in an organization where the red team kind of punched the blue team too many times in the eye and they didn't like us. So how do you fix that situation? It's important to fix it because, like Ryan O'Hara said, right? It's important to care about the blue team. It's not just about giving them a red eye or breaking them or knocking them out. It is giving value. So for all of this, we need frameworks. I know I lose half of you on this part, but frameworks are so important. The cyber kill chain. Any of you have a drink in your hand? I know that's a time to drink. And we give the kill chain a lot of crap, right? Because it's not really the 7 steps that attackers do, is it? But you know what the kill chain did? The kill chain got this in front of a lot of seniors, a lot of executives, a lot of people that didn't really understand what was happening and said, this is how an attacker works. Paul Poles then came and created this awesome unified cyber kill chain, which was like more realistic of what really malicious actors do. And then, of course, if you're in a financial, which again, I spent a lot of years there, we have a lot of regulations. I had the benefit of working at an organization that was in over 100 countries, and like everyone plus their mom, their aunt, their cousin, they all regulated us. So we had a lot of regulations to figure out. So work with the Bank of England, work with the European Central Bank, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. They all had these awesome frameworks for doing this threat-led type of engagement. And of course, because weren't that many frameworks, we created another framework, and that's the last one here, the framework for the regulatory use of pen testing in the financial services industry. And really just very quick, it's here on the right. That's what we're going to talk about today. Threat intelligence first, figure out your organization. If you're not doing vulnerability assessment, vulnerability scanning, if you're not doing pen tests, if you have no idea of what assets you have in your organization, if you don't know what software you have running, if you're not patching, red teaming and adversarial emulation may not be for you. You probably need to do some of the basics first. But if you think you're ready, okay, let's talk about a threat actor that's likely to attack you, that's probably attacking you right now. Let's learn about it. Let's use cyber threat intelligence. Let's plan an exercise around this, whether it's purple team, red team, and then let's test them. For that, we use MITRE ATT&CK, right? So cheers, I said MITRE ATT&CK. I said it twice, so take your drink. And we use that framework as a common knowledge to then emulate a particular adversary, get in, the fun stuff you like to do, and then show value. And that's the closure part, the exercise closure. So here's your MITRE ATT&CK. I hope everyone knows what this is by now, right? Adversary tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. It was really it's a common language that allows red teamers, blue teamers, and cyber threat intelligence folks to all speak the same language, right? Something can happen, some incident response, forensics team goes in, they find out what certain particular actor did, and they map it back to these tactics, techniques, and procedures. In the top row, you have your tactics. These are the high-level goals of the adversary. And then under them, you have techniques, and then each technique has multiple procedures. Now, this is not a bingo card, not bingo. We're not playing bingo. I know it's Saturday night for some of you. This is not bingo. You are not just like checking off like, oh, I can detect this and I can detect that. That's great, but you will never get to 100%, right? Like that is just part of this. We know that all these things are possible. We want to put them together in an attack chain or attack scenario and then see if we can detect those. So an awesome thing that MITRE did is attack evaluations. And this seems to be like everyone knows about MITRE ATT&CK, but not many of you know about the evaluation. You haven't looked at them. So please do look at that. Shout out to the MITRE team, right? Frank, Adam, Jamie, John, Richard, all of you, awesome stuff. And all the folks that have left MITRE, you've all done awesome as well, right? Blake and Katie Nichols and all of you folks did awesome work. We thank you so much. And that's what we're going to actually base most of this talk on, because wanted to emulate Cozy Bear. He's over there on the right. Looks so cute, isn't he? And MITRE ATT&CK did this for us in what they call evaluations. See, what they do is they first make a call out for cyber threat intelligence. They say, please give us cyber threat intelligence about this particular actor. They chose Cozy Bear. And then let's create this adversary emulation plan. And let's test a bunch of controls, a bunch of security products. And I actually didn't check the list of sponsors. So if you're on there, this is not a win or lose. There's no winner. There's no rankings. There's no ratings. There's no score, right? So it's nice because I don't talk bad about any vendor. And we see what they can do. What can they detect? Because like I said, you can't just like pull this security product and put it in your environment and all of a sudden you're secure, right? It's like compliance. You're not compliant just because you're using a compliant system, right? You actually have to make sure that the process is there. So MITRE ATT&CK is awesome. Attack evaluations is even more awesome. That's what we're gonna focus on today. So a word about threat intelligence. And again, another buzzword, George. Oh, you're making me drink too much. The pyramid of pain. What is the pyramid of pain? Well, shout out to David Bianco. Created this. This is different types of cyber threat intelligence. Now, yeah, you're all red. You might not know about the blue team side, but cyber threat intelligence on a blue team side is a number of things, but we can actually use this for red team. So hear me out. The bottom of the pyramid, we have hash values, right? Antivirus works like this, right? There's a bad malware out there. There's a hash for it. It gets updated in your AV signature and then it gets stopped. Wow, magic, right? Now, pretty trivial. It's also trivial for a red teamer or a malicious adversary, right? Hope everything you're doing is with permission. What can they do? They can change the hash value so easily, trivially, right? Like just change one bit and your hash value changes. How about IP addresses and domain names? Those are pretty easy too, right? Most of you use, if you're a red teaming, you are using cloud infrastructure for this. It's like 3 clicks maybe to change your IP address. To buy a domain, it's gonna cost you a whole $14, right? Pretty simple. But then as you start working your way up the pyramid, both for a defender to catch this particular type of threat intelligence and for an attacker to modify it, it gets annoying, challenging, and tough. But what we want to focus on as red team, as adversary emulators, right, is the top. The adversary behaviors, their tactic, techniques, and procedures. And that's our focus here. We're going to talk about some tools. I'm going to show you some tools. I'm going to live demo some tools, but tools can change. And just detecting a tool doesn't mean you get to check that box on MITRE ATT&CK. So who are we talking about? We're talking about Cozy Bear. Cozy Bear, you've probably heard about it if you've read anything in the news in the United States of America. I apologize. The news is horrible. For those internationally hearing about the United States on the news, I also apologize to you. It's never good. I'm from Florida. Like, there's never anything good coming out of Florida. We have Florida Man. If you've never heard of Florida Man, like, I think that's actually good. Don't Google Florida Man. You don't want to know about Florida Man, but it's like all this stuff is just happening, right? It's we went full 2020 this year. So Cozy Bear, what's Cozy Bear? Threat actor attributed to the Russian government and most likely reportedly attributed to, based on who you talk to, compromise the Democratic National Committee in 2015, right before elections, right? They are a group that was known to be pretty stealthy, pretty sophisticated, had some pretty cool techniques, had a new technique that we'll see if the demo works for it, called time stomping scheduled tasks. Also saw Nick Carr today on Twitter. Shout out to you. He's going to talk tomorrow, but he actually confirmed that Cozy Bear was the first one to do this. And of course, thank you, MITRE, over on the right for providing such cool pictures. So Cozy Bear. And then, of course, there's a lot of bears. So if you haven't heard about all these bears, pretty much if you hear an adversary name that they are a bear, that means that they are Russian. So you have different types of bears here. You have the black bear, the brown bear, the polar bear, of course, the Cozy Bear. And thank you, Jamie, for this picture. Of course, identifying what kind of bear is in your network is not as easy as this chart. It's not just about what they look like. You got to go a little deeper. So we like using Attack Navigator. This is another awesome resource from MITRE ATT&CK. And as you can see, I really like MITRE ATT&CK. A little biased. I was one of the founding members of their new Ingenuity Center, which actually sponsors MITRE ATT&CK and a bunch of other things. So love them, love what they're doing. Attack Navigator. this site that you can either run inside your environment, or you can run just on a GitHub page and interact with it, that tags the different TTPs used by a particular threat actor. So in this case, this is Cozy Bear. These are all the things that Cozy Bear was known to do based on the cyber threat intelligence that was provided to MITRE when they had the call for this. So if you're going to start creating kind of a plan, you now have an idea of what this malicious actor was doing, and you can kind of start coming up with a plan. So planning is important. You have your goals and objectives, just like malicious actors have their goals and objectives. What are your goals and objectives as a red team? Remember, it's not about winning. It's about giving business value. So you're not going to go full cyber here and just own the entire organization and drop a report off and be like, I win, you suck, goodbye. Because you're not going to be called back. If you're an internal team, you're going to be doing a lot of retest work for like years. So what are our goals and objectives that we figure out on the planning stage? Are we going to do this as a blind engagement or as a purple team engagement? In other words, is it zero knowledge for our blue team? Our blue team is our security operations center. Or are they going to know about it? Highly, highly recommend an exercise coordinator or project manager. I saw Philip Weil on Twitter the other day writing like, you know how to stop an ethical hacker, you make them manage a project. And that's correct. You do not want to be the project manager. Did this in 2 engagements, never again. You really want to find an exercise coordinator or project manager that has some technical understanding, had the benefit of working with an awesome, awesome person for many years. She knows who she is. And she was an awesome exercise coordinator because she understood the importance of cyber threat intelligence, what the blue team was doing and what the red team was doing. And really, they bring everyone together. They're your trusted agents, right? They know what's going on in this engagement. They can tell you, oh, the blue team's working on this incident. And then you can deconflict and make sure it's not the red team incident. The red team says, oh, I got initial access. Now what can I do? Or now I'm going to go do this. And those folks, because they are trusted agents, as the name implies, are all coming together thanks to the exercise coordinator. In this planning phase, you also want to talk about doing an assume breach or a full end-to-end kill chain exercise. And that really depends, right? Because a lot of red teams today spend a lot of time gaining that initial access, right? Like it's getting harder for us, which we're not complaining, right? We all like that. We're getting challenged. We're working harder. We love it. But are you going to be spending all this time all the time? If your organization knows that at some point you're going to have a vulnerability that you didn't patch, or that someone's going to click on something and execute something on the behalf of the malicious actors and get access, then maybe you can do an assume breach. Excellent, excellent talk by Tim Medine and the folks over at Red Siege on assume breach. It is a great way of doing and getting the most value out of these pen tests and red team engagements. I would really consider it those. Then, of course, you cover rules of engagement. What can the red team do? What can the blue team do? If you are measuring what the blue team is doing, then you need to give them rules that if they realize it's an exercise, which you hope they don't, that they continue to operate as if this was a real engagement, because behavior changes when they realize that they're being tested. They're like, I'm not going to run that quickly on this one because it's just another red team, right? And another shout out there to Nick Carr and some other folks online that talk about that all the time, right? About the red team not really bringing value. So focus on that. All of this is done in the planning stage. The last part of the planning stage is the attack infrastructure. And this is where the red team sets up how they're going to attack. And this is all based on the scope and the planning phase. Over on the right, we see a sad bear. sitting on a picnic chair talking about planning, because I know this is not your favorite part. Thank you, Alex, who's on Twitter, for providing that image. So we created this thing called the C2 matrix, the command and control matrix. Now, hopefully you've heard of this. Hopefully you've used it. If you've used this awesome. Thank you for using it. Please let us know if it was valuable or not. This just started out almost a year ago now that I think about it. PowerShell Empire. Have you all heard of Empire? I think you've heard of Empire, right? It's an awesome command control framework, right? Shout out to Harmjoy and all the developers on there. Very, very cool. Now, Empire around July, end of July, I actually remember the day, and I know that's sad. They are like, we're done with this project. PowerShell's dead. Everyone catches it. We're moving on. And I was sad because I had just released a 2-day red team course, and we were based on Empire because Empire was so reliable, such good code. Thank you guys again. I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it. Empire was awesome. And this end of life is like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? So I started talking to folks. I mentioned I'm a SANS instructor, so we have our Slack, and I'm like, hey, what do you use? What do you use? And I got a whole bunch of different answers. And then I'm at DerbyCon, and I'm talking to Bryce, and I'm like, oh, you know, this just happened. It's like, I was just using Caldera to try to do something, and I didn't know it didn't have this ability. And all of a sudden, it just started to kind of snowball. It was a spreadsheet, like you can see here on this image, right? Because at this point, I'm a manager. Like, I'm not even technical, right? I'm just kidding. I quit being a manager to stay technical. But it started as a little spreadsheet with various different features of what different command and controls frameworks can do. There's 48 of them now. 48 command and control frameworks. Can you believe that? And we track them here. So whether you're a blue team, whether you're a red team, whether you're doing purple teaming, you should definitely check this out. Most of them are free and open source. You can check them out, see what capabilities they have, how they can communicate, if they have agents or payloads for various different operating systems. And like I said, just contribute back, fill these out. Let me know if a new one comes out and it's not there. We'll add it to it. And we've also done some other things. Like we released the SANS Slingshot C2 Matrix Edition virtual machine. So some of these aren't that easy to install. So we did all that work for you. Right now, there's 8 different C2s already pre-installed. You just download the VM, you power it up with virtual VMware, and you can just hit the ground running. We also have a how-to site, which shows you how to use these. So today, based on Cozy Bear using Posh C2 and the adversary emulation plan, we will do Posh C2. And it's all there. Like you can copy and paste it. Obviously, you should learn how they work. And you can follow them on the C2 Matrix on Twitter. So next step is to create this adversary emulation plan. Now, again, thank you to MITRE ATT&CK. Because they did this in attack evals, we have this whole operational flow. We have this emulation plan. It has 20 different steps over 2 days. Obviously, I probably have like 20 minutes left, so I'm not going to do it all, but it's there. I'm going to show you how and give you the building blocks so you can do it yourself with all free tools. And it's an awesome resource. Again, thank you. So initial access, like 90% of initial accesses today started with, drum roll, phishing, right? And it got broken up. One is broad phishing and the other one's more targeted, spear phishing, right? Day one, smash and grab, like go in, be noisy, etc., right? They use Puppy and Metasploit/Meterpreter, which is the Metasploit payload. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Extremely noisy, a continuous connection back and forth over HTTP, probably something that gets caught. And then they did day 2, which is still low and slow using Posh C2. So I'm going to do that one just because I like being difficult with myself. And there's a ton of resources. Now, excellent question there. Happy fun time. What's the difference between Slingshot Community Edition and Slingshot C2 Matrix Edition? The Slingshot C2 Matrix Edition has everything the Community Edition has, but it also has these 8 command and control frameworks already pre-installed that you can just run. So it's a little bigger, maybe a lot bigger. I actually haven't checked. I think the C2 Matrix one is maybe like 10 gigs, while the other one's a little smaller. But that's the main difference, is that one has C2 frameworks while the other one does not. And the reason we did that is to really lower the curve, right? Because all these are free, they're open source, they're out there. Like, people are using these. Why can't you? Why can't you just grab this VM and start testing, right? Obviously, do all this with permission, yada, yada, right? So another thing that's extremely important, very important, is you have to track your work. In your red team engagements or purple team exercises, you have to track your work. The whole point of this isn't to go full cyber, as Jake Williams said in one of his talks at Hackfest a couple weeks ago, right? Don't go full cyber. Actually track this, right? If you don't track it, you're really providing very little value, because why not just use a real breach? Why not just look at forensics of a real investigation? The whole point of you doing this is to track everything from the beginning. What time did you send that email? What time did you actually phish the person? What time did your C2 get its communication back, right? All of that is extremely important, and you should do that first. The right side is blue team. So whenever you do the left side, you then want to see what the blue team was able to detect. Did that particular test case, did that TTP get something logged? Was it blocked? Was it detected? Was there an alert? Right? And as you fill these out, you'll get other forms. So if you were to put detected on here, it would say, okay, was there an alert? How high was the alert? And the adversary emulation evals also show that as well. So let's do demos, because I know that's what you all love. So first of all, C2 matrix, that's here. 10.2 gigs, happy fun time, yep. Not that bad, right? We're all on gig connections. That took you what, 32 seconds? If it took long, I'm sorry. But at least you didn't have to spend the time installing them. So this is C2 matrix site. There's a lot of stuff going on. We have Ask the Matrix. This was a little questionnaire that you can just choose and see, like, do you need a command and control framework that supports multiple users? Yes, I want multiple users because this is a red team engagement. And then what channels do you want to communicate on? And this is important today. Most things are over HTTP. So you can select that. You see not much filtering. Or what operating system do you want agents to run on? I want to own everything, all the things. What other capabilities do you want? Like the ability to jitter. Do you want to set a kill date? Look at that. We're down to 4, right? So 2 of these are paid, Cobalt Strike and Sight. Covenant, awesome, awesome stuff. Love Covenant. But we are actually going to use Posh C2. And again, I love all of these. So thank you to all the developers. We have documentation, which I'll cover shortly. We have feedback. Do give us feedback, please. Like, you don't like the site. Someone wrote, like, the site looks like it was created by a 7-year-old. I'm like, thanks. We did this for free. You're welcome. But if you have actual useful feedback, or if you don't know if your feedback will be useful or not, just let us know. Do you want another C2 in the C2, the Slingshot version? let us know. We will help. There's a GUI of this, and the GUI is a pain to update. I am not a web developer, so I really encourage you to use the Matrix. The Matrix, again, is just a Google Sheet. And there's a lot. Sometimes we'll add stuff without actually checking it out. See, I even put here for evaluator, contribute. Please contribute, right? So AppFelt, awesome stuff. This was Cody from SpecterOps. There's some new ones. There's one called Baby Shark that I keep getting the song stuck in my head, right? You all know the song, right? There's a bunch of others, and there's a ton. So today we're going to use Posh C2. We can see the license there, BSD. We can see the price, which is free. We can see where we find it, right? And you can just click on it and go to the GitHub page. You can see Netitude Labs. Thank you. Thank you. I've actually been using this today. You can see the eval date there is today. That's because I took advantage of this demo and actually did it. They're on version 6. I installed it with install.ch. There's a how-to site. What? There is how to use this. That's amazing. I actually installed this in Slingshot, so it doesn't come in the Slingshot, but it's definitely possible if you just follow the instructions. We'll add it next time because I really like this one. We're actually working with folks from Offensive Security, so it's going to be on the next Kali build. And the server was created in Python, and then you can have agents in PowerShell, C#, and Python. Does Cozy Bear follow Russian business hours? That is a great question. Happy fun time, whoever you are. I love all the questions you're asking. When you establish the business hours, it's actually the hours in the target system. That's actually interesting that you bring that up because Posh C2 just put on Twitter, like, should we use UTC time? Should we use local time? And the answer is it depends, but it really does depend, right? If you're using working hours, you want to use the working hours on the target system because 9 to 5 is 9 to 5 in whatever time zone of that person actually working, right? So great question there. I thought that was hilarious. Then is it multi-user? In this case, Posh C2 is. It's mostly command line. I'm going to show it to you in a few seconds. It has agents in a number of different operating systems. It runs mostly in HTTP and HTTPS. It has a key exchange. It can do domain fronting. It can do custom profiles. Like, it's all there, right? Pretty cool stuff. Also, how to detect it. Shout out to these folks. They actually published how to detect this, which is amazing. I'm going to show you right here. They posted, not only is Posh C2 available for you, but this is how you can detect it. These are the IOCs, right? So awesome stuff. Thank you again. And let's move this along. So the how-to. The how-to has stuff. Now, Posh C2 is very well documented. Again, thank you to the developers. You all are awesome. Like, just click on this link and look at all this documentation, how to install it, how to use it, how to extend it, reporting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, this is not the case for all the other C2s, so don't get that excited. But great job there. This is their GitHub. They just released version 6. Definitely check them out. The how-to is here. If you want to download the Sans Slingshot C2 Matrix Edition, you just click here. It comes with Covenant, Empire 3. By the way, Empire is supported today. Thank you to the folks of BC Security. They have not only Empire 3, which is on Python 3, now fully supported, but they have this GUI called Starkiller. I've demoed that before. Actually, the last time I came on this Red Team Village talk, I showed that one. So I'm not going to show that one again. There's also Faction, there's Coatic, there's Merlin, Metasploit, Silent Trinity, and Sliver. And it has Vector installed as well. Here's a little walkthrough of how to use it. Little fact, frequently asked questions. Here's the C2 Matrix eval lab. This is what you should have to actually test this stuff. If you want to contribute, there's a contribute page right here. What we need you to do, please do contribute. Like if there's new ones, or if you want to write a how-to, as you can see, there's not 48 how-tos. There's only a few how-tos, right? So definitely contribute back. We would really appreciate that. Now, let's get to a fun part. Emulating Cozy Bear. Attack evaluations. I'm at attackevals.mitre.org, APT29, operational flow. They have this broken up in two. Scenario 1 and scenario 2. Awesome. You have to put these TTPs together. Now, I'm not going to do one. One is very smash and grabby. I'm going to do 2. Second scenario, they use Posh C2 to create a command and control. And if you click here, malware is executed on the victim. You can see every step is actually a chain. This first step uses T120A, this one, oh my gosh, all these things, they drops a PowerShell stager, etc. So you can go through all these and do them. Now, how do you do that? The step-by-step is available in this GitHub page. It's MITRE ATT&CK's GitHub under Attack Arsenal, Adversary Emulation, APT29, which is Cozy Bear. And here you can see everything day 1 and day 2 does. So we're going to go over to day 2. Now, day 2 requires a little bit of prep, so don't think that you can just go out and do this that quickly. Special thanks to all these folks, right? Atomic Red Team, Mimikatz, Posh C2, right? The folks from PowerSploit, etc. Tells you your requirements, your victim systems, your red team system. The red team setup, you actually have to go through and do all this. And then it goes down to step by step what you need to do for each step. Now, I, of course, did not have time to do all of these, but they're awesome. And why are they awesome? Because they're payloads that you can actually pull down and run as PowerShell scripts. So let's do this. All right. So I already have, this is hopefully viewable. This is the Slingshot C2 Matrix Edition. And I have already set up the Posh C2. And how do you do that? Again, there's a Posh C2 step here. It doesn't come installed. You literally sudo, then run this command, then configure it. I will show you my configuration, first of all, just so you have a look at it. Hopefully this is large enough. So this is just a brand new Slingshot C2. And on top of that, I put Posh on it. And if you look at this config.yaml file, you will see the configuration. So you do need to change things. So you have to put the IP address. Oh my gosh, is this not my IP? Oh, please be my IP. Oh my gosh, yes, thank you. This is my IP. Sorry, I freaked out for a second. So this is the IP. Don't do this with dynamic IPs because you'll freak out. Now, something very important. If you're only doing this in a small test environment, SQLite is fine. If you're going to do this in a bigger environment, then you might want to use Postgres. And that's all there, as well as the payload communication over a CTP. I did something here. I changed the user agent to the new edge, just because that kind of blends in, right? So this is the brand new latest user agent. Default sleep, I put 5 seconds just so we're not waiting forever. Jitter, that, and by the way, so if you don't know this, default sleep, this is how often the agent on the endpoint is going to call back to our system, because that's how HTTP works, right? Like you don't have a ongoing HTTP connection all the time. You go to a website, you open a new tab, you go to Google, it makes a request, it gets something back, and then it just chills. And then you open like a million tabs and they stay open, right? That's how HTTP works. So the same thing you're doing here. You're putting a 5-second, in this case, beacon, and you don't want to fall into a pattern. So you put a jitter. That means 20% between 5 seconds. So between 4 and 6 seconds every time it will call out. And then there's some other things there for this particular one. So you definitely want to configure that first. Then what do? You run the server. It's posh-server. And you're going to find that it's going to create all these payloads for you. It is amazing. So we are here. Let me make that bigger. Sorry about that. So here it creates this quick start.txt. If we look at that quick start, it has created a whole bunch of payloads. It's something really cool about Posh. You don't actually have to go and create the payloads one by one. It does it for you right off the bat, and it saves it in this Posh C2 project folder. So here we have a number of reflective DLLs. You'll have Posh version 2, Posh version 4, Sharp, and Bind. And then when you do run it with Run DLL, it tells you exactly how to do it. To run DLL, and this is a MITRE attack technique, you run DLL, the DLL, and then where you want to start the function. In this case, it's void function. There's also shellcode in .bin files. There is a PowerShell, which is the easiest thing we're going to do. So literally, we're just going to grab this, we're going to copy it, and then we're going to execute it. But you have MSHTA, which is an HTA. This is another LOLBin, a living off the land binary. This is an executable that comes with all Windows systems. Same with Reg Server 32. All of these are TTPs, and they're all different TTPs. There's also some C#. There's just some standard executables. You can do this one with certutil. Awesome, awesome stuff. Certutil will actually go out into the internet, pull down, and execute. So you have a number of those, all things you should definitely test out. And then over here, I'm just gonna hit refresh. I have no implants. So pray to the bear gods. We have a Windows 10 poor victim over here. We're just gonna start a command, and it failed because I did not copy and paste correctly. So hold on 1 second. I'm going to copy and paste. PowerShell, copy. Let's try this again. There we go. So nothing happened, right? Wrong. Let's go over here. And if we hit enter again, we have a new shell. So pretty easy. Posh C2 is that simple to use. We press 4 to interact with it. Now, what do we want to do? Well, we want to do some fun stuff, right? We want to follow this particular Cozy Bear thing, right? So one of the things you should do is on this site, download these payloads. I've already downloaded the payload. I'm going to run step 14, or I'm sorry, step 12. Step 11 is to actually get a shell. Step 12 is to execute this. So I've already done this. Here we see step 14, or sorry, step 12. Why am I skipping forward? And if we look at step 12, we see what it does. It's going to do a number of things. It's a PowerShell script. So how do you do that? Well, you can just load any PowerShell into Posh. You just tell it where it is. and it will load this PowerShell. So in this case, step 12, oh my gosh, I can't type, 12, the PS1, it's going to load that. Now, something about Posh, you have to jump over here to see if it happened. So you can only see the result on the server. Yeah, I know that's kind of hard. You have to switch back and forth, but now that's loaded. So let's run detect AV. And again, this is every 5 seconds. Oh, hey, Johnny, welcome. I can't believe you're only here for the last few seconds, the last few minutes. So again, you don't know if this ran or not. You actually have to switch over to the server and see that it did run. In this case, it runs Windows Defender. Now we can run the next one, which is software. And again, I am just going through the adversary emulation plan that was provided by MITRE. So right now, I'm all the way down here on step 12. I just ran software, and that's executing. It doesn't tell you what happened, but if you switch over here, you can see what actually executed. And in this case, we ran software, and we found we run GPG, there's Chrome probably out of date. Oh, there's IceCast. There's some fun stuff on here that we can go after, right? So all you really need to do is follow this adversary emulation plan and go through the next steps of local enumeration, then elevation, then persistence, lateral movement, etc. And it's all done for you because the folks at MITRE ATT&CK are that awesome. So just wrapping up, and obviously my demos always taking longer than they should. Defending against the cozy bears. You don't want to, just hug these bears because they're bad and they're Russian. So what can you do? Well, MITRE ATT&CK, as part of their attack evals, they tested all of these on their screen, all of them. The black bears, the polar bears, and a bunch of other bears. And each of them have various different detection techniques. So again, this isn't about preventing anything, right? You can't just prevent some of the things we did. You can't prevent PowerShell, but can you? If you map these out together in an attack chain, in an adversary emulation, can you detect it? And that's a question you need to answer. And it's not just by deploying any of these technologies, it's actually testing them. So you want more Cozy Bear. Shout out to Tim Malcolm Better. Thank you for this picture. Cozy Bear and Fancy Bear just kind of hanging out. One of the things that I've done with Scythe, which is awesome because we love giving back to the community, is Threat Thursday. So it's a weekly blog. We introduce an adversary. We consume this cyber threat intelligence. We map it to MITRE ATT&CK. We give you an adversary emulation plan. We emulate it, and then we talk about how to defend it. So we've done 4. This is actually my 4th week at Scythe. I'm loving it. I've done APT29, Bot Trap, APT33, and of course this week we did Cozy Bear. Definitely check it out. I spent 10 minutes having coffee with Jamie Williams from MITRE ATT&CK and just talking about Cozy Bear. It's so cool. So definitely check it out. We have more coming to you in the coming weeks. And now Vector. We are doing a free SANS webcast next Thursday, July 2nd, with the folks from Vector. So Phil Wainwright, awesome person, one of the leads of Vector. Vector is for managing and showing value of your red team engagements and purple team exercises. We're going to do a webcast. It's going to be free July 2nd, so check us out. All of these references are there, and 1 minute to spare. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me today. If there's questions, I'm going to open up and say what's up to you on Discord. Are these slides available? The answer is yes. These slides are always available to you. I'm going to post them right now on Discord, and this recording is going to be posted as well. So thank you again for all your time. Thank you for the organizers. Omar, you are awesome. Thank you so much for everything. And keep it up. We're not even halfway there, right? We got a few more hours left.
Few more hours left. And great presentation, Jorge. Thank you so much for your time and supporting us as well. So for all the attendees, as Jorge mentioned, please feel free to join the conversation in our Discord servers. You will find the link at the event website, which is on the bottom of the screen.